All right. Hashem blessed. I got some information. I don't know why record keeps coming on, wasting my battery. I'll turn off. I'm trying to use this to turn it off. There it is. All right. So, while I was exiting, I started healing the people, and it came up that Costco is probably a location to heal, and if I were actually not inhibited in my life, and it'd be a waste of time to come out over here, and they'd make some story up that I was stalking people in the store, Lord would ask me to come over here and heal people regularly. So that's the point. There's a lot of people that are elderly here, a lot of people that have health issues. Throughout your life, you're being cursed, and we all eventually die from being cursed. That's it. You're cursed to be born here, and then once the curses reach a certain point, you die from here. That's pretty much it. Nothing else going on here, really. Although the Lord brings these gateways to get out of here when your life is over and go somewhere else. Hopefully someplace nice. Thanks, Larry. So what's going on here is you have a lot of cursed people, a lot of elderly people who are carrying those curses, and it's here. Again, it's healing a little better now, but it's still here. Okay. I was pulling out, I had to be extra careful because somebody come in behind me. Right. And I would hit him. Oh, you pulled out into me. And that could be a deep stater, just trying to make that in your life, right? Especially if you're in a community where the cops say, no to get you any chance they can. So somebody comes in behind you real quick while you're pulling out of your spot. I go, you did that. And then put it on you. Like they did in Texas. Right. That was a corrupt. Progressive was corrupt. Or was it Geico? I can't remember which one it was. And then so was whoever in the law enforcement. Actually, no, it wasn't the law enforcement. It was the insurance companies. Again, of course, insurance companies are in the deep state. Right. So when the lady was speaking about living over here in Cranberry or living over there in Butler, she's run places in each location. She says they tend to be a little nicer over here. And that's, again, the deep state connection. Not to say that there's no deep state in Butler, it's just less of a deep state in Butler. Right. Otherwise, you'd be totally narcotics free. That's where it comes from. Right. It's real. Or, it's close. Remember the old days when there was only a little bit of narcotics? You actually had to look for it. Now they don't let you look for it because it's everywhere. Right. Well, we did find it down there in Ross Township. I knew, I pretty much knew it was that. And I was looking at the people where I was staying. I'm like, are these people affiliated with that place? They look, they all have something. Thanks. So I was getting the right cues because I would love to live in a convenient place like Cranberry here, and their manufactured home places are close in, but there's a setup, right? Y'all just get paid to dog me, right? And they act like they're victims. It's a deep state model. That's what you got going on there in Minnesota. Right. But I think they overstepped their bounds at this point, especially if cash is working all the angles. Right. Well, you can't sue for something that you caused. But for what the governors and mayors are doing in those locations, that wouldn't be happening. It's not based upon ICE operation that those things are happening. Right. Even past the fact that they won't honor detainers. Even past that fact. I mean, you're letting these people in the public run amok. Right. Well, because like if ICE had traffic officers, they would send the ICE traffic officers. So the ICE investigators and their enforcement officers, which are a step above a traffic officer, they're actually like a criminal investigator type of thing, right? That they wouldn't be saddled with something they're not designed to regulate. Right? Well, because it's an agreement between the state and if the city and the state would not enforce traffic laws and noise laws, the federal government would eventually take it over. You know, Darrell Issa being there, okay, we need federal laws because they're just not enforcing it. They say it's illegal to enforce traffic laws and noise laws. Right. So we need federal traffic cops. If there was a need, the court would, and you wouldn't do it, the court would pass it. So what's going to happen? The court's going to say, yeah, you're not doing what you're supposed to. Well, but they're citizens. They're members of the public. They're even though they're in the government doing a government operation, you have a requirement to enforce traffic laws and noise laws around them, especially at the level that we see the violation there. And I'm sure somebody called in on 911 that lives in those communities or multiple people, and you refuse to answer the 911 calls. That's a crime. Correct, Larry. But you can't sue for that because you're the impetus. And what you'll say is, well, ICE just has to stop what they're doing. That's not an option, right? What you're going to find is all the judges that made those decisions beforehand, limiting things, are now egg on face. That's really what's happening. Thank you, Larry. Well, there's a direct nexus between not being allowed to bring a security element like the National Guard and the military in and Mrs. Good being shot. There's only so much capability in each individual that's operating these operations. So if we bring in a security element, they can focus on something else and they can focus on that. In fact, Mrs. Good may not have been even able to get down that street if the military was there, right? While certain operations were going on. No, beeping your horn is not lawful. It is not protest, especially around an active law enforcement. There are noise. Again, these things are called unlawful assemblies. Well, but the system is built for the city to enforce those laws. And if they don't enforce the laws, there's nobody to do it. Right, so you become a public safety menace. The issues with those operations is not that ICE is there; it's all those other people. Therefore, they should have been arrested. So there's no way you can sue because the problem is the public, and the public is with you. Right? Again, it's the people who live there. But again, if people in Minnesota believe that everybody should be murdered, and they don't enforce murder laws, I mean, what is that? Same thing. You don't get to pick and choose. Otherwise, you'd be replaced. Maybe even with federal emergency National Guard, right? You're trying to say it's the ICE operations. It's not. That's lawful. They're doing it right. Anything that gets a little crazy is all of you. Like, no, they don't just get to show up and do that stuff. It's not lawful. The federal judges that ruled in favor of that obviously made grave error and have cost at least one life. Now, here's another thing. If you were to take per capita the number of people that die in ICE custody, in DHS custody, you would find that, or what is it? I guess it's ICE, right? ICE, right? You would find that they score better than, say, your local jails and things. Now, you may have like 50 people in detention, and we haven't lost a person. But if you use per capita based upon the number of people in ICE detention, you'll find your one person you lost every 10 years is actually a higher number than the ICE loses. Right. Well, just in some locations, you'll find that the ICE statistics are better than the people out in the public, just like the community around it. So if we look at Minneapolis and the number of people that die in a week in Minneapolis, it's a higher number than that would die in ICE custody in Minneapolis. So they're actually beating, and let's say we even look at the age groups. So again, just by natural life, people die. And sometimes they're in ICE custody, sometimes they're in Minneapolis PD custody or whatever the corrections there. Sometimes they're out in the public. Right. No, I guarantee they have a better statistic than anybody else in the nation. Because I've looked at how many you said have died in ICE custody in the last 6 months, and it's nothing. I mean, people die. I'm not belittling death. I do have a concern, and I did speak about it. The man, but I'm thinking a nurse man did him or a doctor. Like one of them crazy loonies. Like I said, this doctor I thought was a little rough. And now it wasn't to the point where I could report it. I don't think I sat on that person any more than that. It was a guy from Columbia, right? I think a lieutenant, like a cartel lieutenant. Thank you much. Thank you, Larry. Chester Hospital or something like that. Outside Philadelphia. Chester Crozier, I think. There's a burn center there, but I think we used them for some other stuff too. Right. I think that's where. Maybe U of P. I can't remember. I just can't remember. But it was down. I think it was down in Chester. No, it definitely bothered me. I guess doctors don't seem on the up and up. So again, when you're a correctional officer, you have a lot of stuff you got to watch. It's not just being thug, right? You're responsible for their life and their protection. Right. That's why I became a marshal, let's say, because you were like that. That's how the system's supposed to work. Right. So I'm thinking, we don't know what they were injected into this guy's tube, and again, an infection can be nasty. So, right, could be just regular malpractice, even. Right. 100%. Well, you have to understand the one thing ICE tries to control, but can't control even in its own officers. It's a very dangerous job. There's a lot of people, a lot of different bacterias and viruses and hepatitises and schmepatitises. Yeah, so bad there. It's not only hepatitis, I got schmepatitis. Look at there. I'm going to heal this person here. They almost went down the wrong way. I give them a heal. Elderly gentleman there. That's why I'm over here. I'm trying to figure out what am I doing over here. I'm trying to get to the other store. I had to yell at him. The scarces were causing him to go the wrong way. Right. Almost had a wrong way drive. We're on a big road, but thanks, Larry. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You see somebody doing that. I mean, you pull them over, give them a warning if you want, but you got to heal them so it doesn't happen again or happen again. Like that young lady and her father with the tattoos. They're all cursed. Whole family's cursed. Right. Now, I wouldn't say it's the father's fault that his daughter was, So again, you see it trying to blame it on the father. Well, whose fault is it, really? No, she's cursed, and they put spells on her to make her a sexual thing, Right. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Larry. Yeah, so she needs to be healed. There's people that curse the, and I was in the father's head trying to explain it to him. I don't know if he heard me or he could receive a thought. Maybe people hate me because I have tattoos or something, but that's what's happening. Like some people in the deep state will just curse him because he's tattooed like that. Right? Like okay, this is the other part I want to say. Supremacists. Deep state looks for supremacists. It doesn't matter what kind of supremacist you are because they have cells for every form of supremacy. So if you're a supremacist, they can use you. You have black supremacists, white supremacists, red supremacists, Republican supremacists, liberal, Democrat supremacists, Islamic supremacists, Christian supremacists. If you're a supremacist, they can use you. And that's how they trigger people through supremacy. That's how they reason why they're allowed to commit such heinous crimes, based upon that supremacist thought process. That's why H2Bers make great guys, like because now all of a sudden you're a Brahmin or something, like a case system. Commit a crime and we'll let you into the Brahmin cult. Thanks, sir. Again, some of it's witchcraft, so it's stuff going on in their head that nobody's necessarily speaking, but possibly triggering and probably triggering. Right. I could have a nice quiet life with my family going to church, but they didn't want it. So now I had to put up with all the other stuff. Actually, it began a long time ago. I got a nice quiet life with with my family in the synagogue as a rabbi. As a kid, it started, no doubt. Well, because Satan reads your mind, man. Like, I don't like this kid. Something wrong with this kid. That's how it really works. Right. Yeah, the kids are here. So they came up in the mind. There's, I explained to you angel school. So a lot of the kids that end up in angel school, because it means they die young, they get to grow up as angels. So the thing was, we people get offended. Like, one of these paintings of kids as angels. It's not Christian. That's what they're showing. That's what it's trying to show. Hashem was trying to bring out the idea. And some people might know it and not speak about it. Even like back then when they started that in Middle Ages or whenever, right? Renaissance or something. Right. Well, that's where kids go. They go to grow up and they get to help. And one of the things that I received was that kids, even when they're killed by their parents, when they get to be the guardian angel, they want to be their parents' guardian angel. Now, of course, they do other work, but so what's that? What's her name? Grace. And it's funny, you know, her name, the missing. We didn't know who she was or something. We called her Baby Grace, right? And I think Baby Grace was the one where her mother did kill her. Was part of the death. Right? One of her last words was, "Mommy, I love you." Right? And it was a boyfriend type of deal. You know, she was a stepdaughter or something, I think. Right? And abused her. She wanted to be with her mother. So it's funny that that's the first case where God explained it to me. And so her name was Baby Grace. Well, she's with her mother. I think she's still with her mother. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure she did other stuff because her mother's in a prison. So she's a guardian angel in a prison. That's who Baby Grace became in the afterlife. Well, I mean, there's adults and God and everything to guide the thing. It's like she's on her own. And then she actually matures. She grows up. Did I do something wrong there? You did. You went to the stop sign. Right. I got to get to the store here. Right. Thank you, Larry. No, I just really actually made the connection of her name and the whole thing just now. The whole them years, I never figured it out. Okay. But I knew she was a guardian angel for her mother and the people in that prison there, or was training to be one. Again, it's a school. How to be an angel. Thank you, man. Well, God has a way of fixing things that are broke, and that's one way God fixes that broken thing where kids get killed or die early. Again, remember, in God's world, nobody dies. We ended up in another world, right, run by Satan. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, last time I saw Baby Grace, she was walking around the halls of a prison. Inside the mind, psychically. Thank you, Larry. They try to traumatize me because I'm still saying that. I'm like, all that weird stuff from, when you investigate, right? I try to traumatize you. We try to solve a case. Right. It's one of those situations. It never would have happened if the mother didn't have that boyfriend. So, what happened to her life? Did the deep state block her and all that? Right? Decrease her. Block her from her life, and she ends up with an abusive guy, and then it kills her daughter and puts her into it. And right, then her life. All right, stay peaceful. Praise, because that wouldn't happen if Larry came along. Stay peaceful, praise God, and all that you do, praise God.